Hello, my name is Jeremy Den Hartog. I am a storm chaser with MajorLeagueStorms.com out of Mankato, Minnesota. And this is my video update for the major snowstorm, major winter storm, whatever you want to call it, affecting much of the northern plains with heavy snow, or at least Minnesota, Iowa, or parts of Iowa, South Dakota, those type of places. And then some severe weather down south, Arkansas. There's some tornado warnings, tornado watches all the way up into Illinois, with severe thunderstorm watches spreading east into Indiana and Ohio, I believe. So pretty wide range of precipitation types, kind of typical of a spring storm. But anyhow, this is relating more so towards the southern Minnesota area, so the cold side of the storm. And right now we're in the development stage of this wave that's moving up, this piece of energy that's moving up from the southwest, and some precip out here in southwest Minnesota. It's kind of a little misleading because it looks not that impressive at this point, but like I said, it's still in the development phase. Things are going to start to happen fairly quickly in the next few hours, so just because you're not necessarily seeing precip at the moment, or most of today you probably haven't seen a ton, doesn't mean that we've missed the storm. So don't let your guard down. Definitely tonight and tomorrow the weather conditions are going to take a turn for the worse. So anyhow, out here we got some precip southwest Minnesota, southeast South Dakota. Kind of look at some of the different things. If you watched my previous videos, I went through a few things here. Critical thickness, something I went through on the last video, but I'll go through it here again. These lines, pretty much anything west of these lines is typically going to be snow. So eastern South Dakota, I would imagine a lot of this precip up here is snow. Up into central parts of Minnesota is snow. This stuff down here in southwest Minnesota may be more rain or drizzle than anything. We'll take a look at the surface map here and see what it shows, but well, actually there are some snow reports coming out of that area. So some of the precip is snow, heavy wet snow. I would imagine a lot of the temps are in the low 30s here. So so yeah, it's just getting started. So in the next few hours, definitely expect things to take a turn for the worse. Let's take a look at some of the forecast models. Some of the newest guidance actually changed things a little bit, and may need to update my forecast totals again based on it, but I'm not quite sure yet if it's warranting needing an update. So anyhow, this is the NOM forecast model 12Z, which again is the time that the forecast model is issued. But again, it's still kind of showing a northerly track with this precipitation, or at least with the snowfall. And then down here it would be more of a mix, or rain, freezing rain, that kind of thing. So it puts Mankato right on the line. It shows us pretty much in the 6 to 8 inch range, but quickly dropping off to our east and quickly picking up to our north and west. I'm not still sold on this whole theory, but it's maybe not too far off. So it's all going to depend on how quickly the precipitation changes to snow. In Mankato, places like Rochester, Winona, those type of places are probably going to end up seeing more freezing rain, or maybe even just rain, especially down here in southwest Wisconsin, parts of Iowa, things like that. So it's going to be definitely a mess as you head east on 35 with the icy conditions, but also up here in central Minnesota, going to be a lot of heavy wet snow. And that's just based on the NOM. This is the GFS, which shows more of an easterly track to the precipitation, but it does cover a much larger area with heavy snow than what the NOM is. So I think this is maybe a little overdone as far as precip totals, but I could easily see this band in here ending up being a foot, a solid foot of snow for the Twin Cities, Wilmer, western Minnesota here. But it's going to depend on the track of the storm. If we end up getting more of a southwest to northeast track with a lot of the precipitation, and a lot of this stuff ends up staying warmer down here, which it does show on some of the forecast models, then the Twin Cities down towards Mankato could end up right on the edge of the heaviest snow. So keep that in mind. It's not definitely, it's definitely not set in stone. So keep abreast to the latest weather. Here we have the RPM, and I showed this again last night, but I'm going to show it again here. It kind of actually agrees a little more with what the NOM is showing. So let's go ahead and animate it, and you'll see some freezing rain, or no, sleet in there, and then some rain. But then we get the burst of heavy snow, but as you can see, it moves southwest to northeast, leaving a lot of southeast Minnesota without significant accumulations of snow. They may see a little bit, but I think for the most part this one is taking the heaviest snow towards the Twin Cities, but maybe a little bit north of there. So let's take a look at the actual snow totals for that particular forecast model. And this is the initial stuff that's probably out there, but then all of a sudden, well, geez, I don't know why it jumps all over the place there. All of a sudden it gets really heavy, so I'm going to reload this because I think it's being stupid. But alright, this is the initial stuff that's out here, and you notice how heavy it gets really quick, and then it slides off to the northeast. As you can see, southeast Minnesota going to be kind of dodged if this actually verifies. So south central Minnesota, Mankato area up towards the Twin Cities based on this forecast model would be kind of on the edge of the heaviest snow. Western areas of Minnesota, Willmar, Marshall, those type of areas would definitely get hit hard. With this one showing more than a foot out in those directions. So between the NOM and this forecast model, it makes me a little nervous that I may need to shift my totals further north, or at least lessen them in far southern Minnesota and northern Iowa. So something to keep an eye on. Not 100% sold on it, but just be mindful that it may change yet. This is the WRF forecast model that John Wetter actually put out this past spring, or actually winter. I think it maybe came out in January. But anyhow, it's pretty accurate usually. So we'll go ahead and animate it. And this one shows the different precip types, similar to what I've shown you before, where the blue is the snow, green is rain, and yellow and red are mixes of rain or freezing rain and sleet and those type of things. So we'll animate it. It's showing the precip again, similar to some of the other forecast models. Southeast Minnesota being more of an area that's mixing, seeing some freezing rain, sleet. Mankato itself looks again to be kind of on the edge of the precip, though, or the snowfall, I should say. But in this particular case, I think we'd get heavier amounts. So if this one actually verifies, and you'll see that here in the snow totals here when I'll animate that for the same time frame, same forecast model, and it doesn't go far enough out to see it carry all the way up here with the whole snowfall totals, but you can definitely see that's where it's tracking with the heavier snow. But it shows Mankato on this forecast model at least approaching a foot of snow, but quickly dropping off to the east and southeast from there. So I think the common theme here that I'm trying to stress, though, is a lot of the forecast models are taking northeast Iowa, southeast Minnesota, and putting them more in a mix as opposed to heavy snow. So I would expect those type of areas to see more ice than anything. So if you live down there, be aware of that. Be prepared for freezing rain, power outages because of it, things like that. And I know they do have ice storm warnings, those type of things in that area, so that would be why. If you live out in southwest, western Minnesota, definitely Redwood Falls, Marshall again, maybe up towards Willmar, some significant snow accumulations out of this one. It almost looks like a guarantee you're going to see a solid foot in most of those areas. So heavy wet snow, power lines will probably come down with some of the branches and things like that. So power outages are looking pretty likely, and I know there are some areas in southwest Minnesota already without power due to the freezing rain that fell in that area yesterday. Sioux Falls was actually hit really hard too, and I believe they may be without power. So this is going to cause even a bigger mess for people that are trying to fix some of the down power lines and things like that happened from yesterday's little wave that moved through. So anyhow, I'll possibly release an updated snow total map later on tonight, depending on how things track, what the newer forecast models that come out in a few hours, what they start to show. And just overall by watching the radar, seeing how things track with the precip. But looking like you get east of 35, there's a decent chance you're not going to see a ton of snow. And if this thing were to shift just a little bit, Mankato may end up not seeing a whole lot either. So anyhow, this is an update. Just stay weather aware. Weather.gov is always a good resource to keep an eye on. They have the official forecasts, but then also the current watches, warnings, things like that. So anyhow, thank you for watching.